Hey everyone, recording number 2 on the day because I have free time for once. I want to play this aggressive assassin deck that I've been putting together this season. I think it's a lot of fun. I think Sentinel Reclaimer fits in really well in aggressive assassin. This deck has a ton of direct damage and a lot of ways to get damage done quickly. If it's not direct. A couple good cards that I think were introduced recently rather. Midnight Trespasser increases your good 1-drop density, and also this is a phenomenal card as a curve filler. You get to have like 3 Magicka, you put down a Ward Crafter, and then consume something with this. You get just an enormous tempo swing. You get 5/4 worth of stats for 3. It's great. Slinking Jackal is, I think, only good right now because no one's running Firebolt. Everyone is running Execute, which we play around relatively well after our 1-drops and a couple of our 2-drops. But Slinking Jackal, if more people start playing Firebolt, then this needs to come out, like very, very quickly and obviously. And then everything else is kind of what you would expect. Oh, Razumdar takes the place of what Tazcad used to be. Tazcad is way too slow these days, but Razumdar, I think if you can get a little bit of extra value by stealing cards, is really nice. 1 Spoils of War for a little bit of extra draw when you happen to get it into your hand. More than 1 can kind of clunk up your hand because we're mostly a face deck. We're not really a long deck. We want to end by turn 4 or 5. Getting Spoils of War more than once in a game is actually actively bad. Giant Snake for racing. Quimbaron Zaya for racing, and then just a whole bunch of really aggressive stuff and ways to buff our cards up with Sydney Courier, with the items from Sentinel Reclaimer. I'm thinking Sentinel Reclaimer should probably go down to just 2. I don't think we need all 3, but it's been pretty good. Blackhand Messenger has been weirdly very good. It is a good way to race, getting some drain. It carries items really well because people are never going to remove it automatically because they're like, oh, it's a 0/2. I need to remove the other things first. And can offer 2 more points of reach by offing itself. And then Encano tops off because it's Encano. Very rarely do we want to get to turn 8, but if we do, Encano is good. And in the early game, usually you're not going to draw this because it's 1 in 50, and if you do, it's not the end of the world. It kind of sucks, but you survive. So yeah, it's been doing really well for me. I went something crazy like 9-1 with it recently. Got me out of rank 5 into rank 4 in like maybe half an hour of playing it because it's such a fast deck. All right, time to queue up with the Aggro Assassin list. We are against a Tribunal, who we have a weird matchup against. It really depends on the way they're running their deck. If they run Firebolts, we kind of just lose. Oathman is nice in that it's a 1-drop, but getting it without the 2 points of damage isn't really the best, and we're probably going to Jackal anyway? I think we can pitch that, but I'm not happy about it. Okay, that's better, because if he can trade into the Jackal, then we get a 3/3 to follow up. And I think we actually want to put this Shadow, because if he contests with a Ward Crafter, we don't want our Trespasser to just be eaten by it. That is on the assumption that our opponent plays a card.
Most unfortunate. Prepare to die.
Okay. Slinking Jackal, like I said, it really is a boom or bust card. If it works, ooh, if it works really well. I kind of want to just play the Camlorn Hero, actually. So you've already done 6 damage on turn 2. Like I said, if this deck gets going, it gets going really quickly, but it's very fragile.
I will keep Sothasil's people alive.
Okay, so he has a very slow hand.
Your time has come.
We're actually going to pitch the Spoils of War.
Care to make a friendly wager?
Because
It's only illegal if you get caught.
If he answers this, he's spending most of his turn to do that, in which case we have a bunch of damage to push. And if he doesn't answer that, then, I mean, hey, we basically got a Spoils of War on a body. Cool, so we get to push a bunch of damage instead. We're totally fine with that. Almost all of our deck is under 4 cost. Blackhead Messenger is not good, but it is what it is. We're going to save it back as a versatile option if he plays something like Hive Defender. Then we can use it to trade through. Reclaimer. So we're coming up on Ice Storm turn. I think I'd rather Reclaimer now. Is that true? No, I'd rather Blackhand because people don't see Blackhand Messenger as a threat, which means he's less likely to use an Ice Storm, and then Reclaimer's items can both go on the Blackhand Messenger for additional reach. Oh, what? Ah! Huh. That was kind of interesting.
Well, let's see if we can find
So we're actually going to not use any of the items right now because
this might be handy.
in a couple turns, Razumdar just represents lethal with these. That's 4, 7, 8, or 7, 9, 10 Magicka. Unlikely that we need to get that far. Oh yeah, we just Razumdar now.
Try some. You won't live. This one won't.
Let's see what we grab. I'll pull out the Assassin. And Goldbrand. Alright, our opponent's list has some spice. But the Lightning Bolt draw seals that away for us. Yep, jab is fine. Alright, and there we go. Deck is pretty good at going super speedy. It helps a lot that our opponent wasn't able to answer either of our 4/2s. Very, very fragile cards, but they can trade through guards really well and they push damage really well, so that's why they are included. We finished a quest. Actually kept that quest specifically because I knew I'd be recording this. We'll give one more a shot. Okay, game number 2 is against a Dagoth. He has the ring, which is a bummer. Dagoth uses the ring really, really well. I think we can leave the messenger. We want things that are a bit faster than that. Double ones are good. Crown Quartermaster is great because if it trades, it means we can get the Midnight Trespasser value.
This might be handy.
See what his response is. No response. Okay. In that case, I'm thinking Wardcrafter is a nice follow-up.
Don't underestimate me.
Yep, Natasha just got home. So he had no 1s or 2s.
With House Halalu.
I has to just play a Naked Pawnbroker. Nice. So we can trade over that. Usually we're not really in the business of trading,
I keep a spare
but when it's such a nice value trade, it's really kind of hard to argue against it, especially because he would just kind of trade our stuff off anyway. And he doesn't have a lot of big guards at this cost. Okay, that's great. That's something we can very happily just trade over. Or not trade over, just attack over.
You dog. I'm ready for you. I'm ready for
I
you.
have no time for fools.
And we can Gambler away the dagger.
Friendly wager.
So we have 6 points of burn in hand. Or quasi-burn in the case of Cliff Racer. This is what this deck is meant to do. It gets under those mid-range lists really, really well. Control, it can have some trouble depending on how it's built, but as you saw in the Tribunal game, if it's built the way we're meant to prey on, it can go really well. Okay, we have an absurd amount of direct damage right now, so we're just going to go entirely face.
Bet on the wrong side.
I have no
Do
time
your
for
worst.
fools.
Don't underestimate me.
We're very nearly at lethal. He's going to get to trade into the Corner Club Gambler and go back up to 8. But he can't Ice Storm. And if he gets a second one, we just burn him through it. Dagoth doesn't have a lot of big guards. Piercing Twilight or Vigilant Ancestor might be about it, but that wouldn't be enough. And look at all of the damage we have available to us. 2, 6, 10, 13 damage from hand over however many turns. He's going to have an Elfic Conjurer, which that doesn't do it. People say that Elfic Conjurer is overpowered. This is exactly the situation that I would point to disagree. We have a lot of things going for us that can get through that with no problem whatsoever. Very vulnerable to aggressive strategies, and I think this is probably the most aggressive deck I've ever built. I think it works relatively well given the meta is very mid-rangey due to Elfiq, and the control decks are not running Firebolt, which this deck is built to exploit. So the deck list will be in the description. Give it a shot. It's been working out really, really well for me. I think it's well positioned, and I think the Sentinel Reclaimer has a slot in here because it offers a lot of versatility and a lot of reach. So tell me what you think. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to make sure you get notifications for all of my new videos. And until then, I'll see you all next time, after we get our rewards. Yeah. All right. Later.